Hey guys, so I just finished updating this calculator, which I've named Revenue, Overheads and Profitability Planner. So I built this calculator out because obviously I work within Wunderbuild, and most of the work I do is within Wunderbuild in terms of all the templates and systems and processes I build specifically for Wunderbuild. But then there's always something, or I won't say always, I'd say sometimes there's other things which Wunderbuild won't do, and you'll need to pull data and information from other means. So sometimes I have to create these spreadsheets which work in with Wunderbuild, and in this case, this one works in with the whole estimating process to give us an overhead cost per week and per day. And there's a few steps that I'll show you through how this spreadsheet works so that we can put in a forecast of jobs, the number of weeks we expect those jobs to run for, I should say. And then based on that, we're going to get this overhead cost that we can then plug into our Wunderbuild estimate to make an overhead allocation allowance. So how this works is that we've got this revenue and overheads forecast calculator sheet here. So what you would do at the start of the financial year is put in the financial year date at the top here. And then across here, you just add in the number of jobs you're forecasting to be undertaken for that financial year. So you can see at the moment, I've got 5 jobs here. This is how many weeks I expect each of these jobs to run for. And you're just going to do this exercise here to add in the expected contract value. Just an example now. And we'll add in the number of weeks we expect the job to run for. And you can see when I'm doing that, it's recalculating these figures here. So you can see number of jobs planned for year is 6. Average contract value per job is 738 odd K. So this is the target annual turnover. So this is showing all the revenue that we're projecting based on the figures we've put in here. This is the total number of weeks we've entered in here. And here what I've done is put the working days per week that on average the building company is going to be working. So usually that would be 5 days per week, Monday to Friday. And this figure here, this forecast fixed expenses or overhead cost for the year. This figure you can get from your accounting software, so Xero, QuickBooks, whatever you use. And usually if you just ask your bookkeeper or your accountant to give you a report, they'll be able to generate a report for you to tell you how much you've spent on fixed or overhead costs. So those costs being all costs outside of your general project cost of sales expenses, so rent, utility bills, mobile phone, car expenses. So all the things outside of your projects, they're your overhead costs. And the idea is that you want to calculate that for the entire year, and then based on the number of weeks you expect your jobs to be running for, you can allocate a portion of those overhead costs to each project you price. And then that way you're not you're taking those costs into account. So then when you add your markup on a job, which is essentially your profit margin, provided you don't have big cost blowouts or overruns, you've already factored in what your overhead costs are going to be, and allocated a portion of those overhead costs to the project. So all being well and the project runs smoothly, that profit margin that you allocate to the project should actually come through to the company, and you're not going to be using that profit margin then to pay for overhead costs, which you wouldn't have otherwise allowed for. So that's the main reason I built this calculator tool. And then obviously in Wunderbuild, when we go to do an estimate, we should be allowing a cost allocation or cost category in Wunderbuild to be allocating a portion of those overhead costs too. So coming back to the spreadsheet, you'll get this figure, and I've just made a note here that the overhead costs I mean, you'll look at it historically for the last financial year, but you need to look at it with a view of what you're planning to undertake in this financial year, because obviously year to year could be different one year to the next. And, last year may have been 500K total overhead costs. And you might need to use that figure and then say, well, look, I've got a few extra jobs. I'm going to have another labourer or, another project manager, whatever it may be. And obviously your overhead costs are going to increase then in order to then be able to undertake these jobs that you're forecasting for that financial year. So just be mindful of that. So once you add in, you do your projection of jobs, the weeks, your average working days per week, and put in what you're forecasting your overhead costs will be. This calculator will then work out what your expense costs are per week, and then what that works out to be per day. And then what we can do now, jumping over into this next sheet, which I've called the pricing and profitability sheet, is we can then allocate in this row here what's that overhead cost allocation should be for each project that we price. So each time that you price a project, if you enter it into this spreadsheet, so just do test stream, whatever, and then I'll put in a cost here. Let's say 500,000, and we'll say this job will run for let's just do the same, 24 weeks. You'll see that at the top here now, where I've entered another project, it automatically calculates what the overhead allocation should be based on the number of weeks that job's going to run for. So you can see here now it's saying 73,544. So I'm going to enter that here. And then it gives us this true cost of sale or break-even cost in this cell here. So then we know now that this is our true break-even cost, like I've just mentioned, and anything on top of this should be our true profit margin. So again, if I put a 25% markup here to give me a 20% margin, it gives me what that profit margin is as a figure, and then what the total contract price should be. So this figure here, or this bottom line contract price, including GST figure that this spits out here, should match to your estimate in Wunderbuild also. And yeah, like I mentioned at the start, I mean, yeah, Wunderbuild's great. It gives you a lot of financial metrics, but it doesn't go to this level of detail to be able to, in this instance, work out what your overhead cost allocation should be. So then you can allocate that overhead cost into your estimate in Wunderbuild. So you would just fill this sheet out as you price jobs, and my process is that once a month you'd review it. Any quotes that haven't gone ahead and turned into live jobs, you would delete from this list, and you just keep adding to it as the year goes. There's another process where what I recommend is updating this once a week, in the middle of the year, I should say, and at the start of the year. So you're doing it twice per year. And that way you can review your overhead costs at the midpoint. So let's just say you review it at the start of the financial year, 1st of July, and then you might look at it again on the 1st of January, just to make sure that whatever you've forecast and projected at the start of the financial year is still looking correct at that midway point of that financial year, so that if you do need to make any adjustments, those adjustments are then picked up in what the overhead allocation should be for any jobs you're pricing those final 6 months. So yeah, there's a few tweaks there, and for any of my consistent-wise clients, I've documented all that out and that entire process in standard operating procedures. So just have a look here. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, I also run Consistentwise, where I help builders set up Wunderbuild and their business systems. And as part of that, I've got all these standard operating procedures. So this one here relates to this sheet. in terms of how we update the estimate in Wunderbuild, and then how that works with relation to this this sheet as well, so that we can allow for the correct overhead cost, as I mentioned. And this is all documented out as well in a standard operating procedure as well. So pretty much everything I'm running through in this video is documented out, so you've got a step-by-step process. So that's the SOPs anyway, which sort of link in with what I'm discussing in this video. But going back to the spreadsheet here, this is the main thing. So we work out what our overhead cost allocation should be. We plug in the jobs as they're quoted and won throughout the financial year. And you can see at the bottom here, I've also got this forecast versus actual table, which also automatically updates to give you some further information here on how you're tracking. And this expected turnover, net profit and net margin for the financial year is also calculated at the bottom here as you go along. So again, it gives you another financial metric to look at as you're updating jobs in this spreadsheet, just to see how you're tracking financially from a net profit perspective and margin perspective, which are related also. So that's the revenue, overheads and profitability, I should say, planner sheet. It's a bit of a mouthful and twister, I know, but I had to come up with something that sort of captured both of these sheets within the workbook. If you want a copy of it, just check out the link in the description and you can download that. And as always, if you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments here in this video. And otherwise, if you haven't joined the Wunderbuilders Facebook group, make sure to join there and become a member. And you can also post any questions or comments in the Facebook group there, I should say, and get whatever help you need in that group. So that's it, guys. I just thought I'll show you this spreadsheet and how it works while it's all fresh in my head. And any questions, reach out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.